Now in this video I am going to go over the most common dog allergy symptoms that dogs suffer anytime they have allergic reactions. Now having a dog with an allergy is one of the most disheartening things you can ever encounter. Why? We will not know what's happening to the dog because they cannot communicate, and it's definitely heartbreaking. It's one of those things that can't be put into words because you see your dog suffer day in and day out and you don't really know what's happening. You don't really know what's triggering the allergy and you don't really know how to solve it. So in this video I am going to help you, and I hope you get value from everything I have to say. The first thing I want you to understand is that there are three main sources of allergy. The first one would be a food allergy. What does that mean? That one particular food or one particular ingredient, one or several, in your dog's food, in your dog's diet, is causing the inflammation, is causing this allergic reaction. So if you go down the route of nutrition, you will find that there's something in your dog's food that's causing and triggering this allergy. The second one is seasonal. Just like humans in spring with pollen, some dogs develop allergies during certain parts of the year, and this can only be mitigated. Now, if your dog suffers seasonally from allergies, you will see that these will flare up and go down depending on the weather. So looking out for certain pathways and for certain walks and places where you take your dog on a recurring basis and assessing whether by avoiding certain paths your dog is doing better than others. For example, if you avoid grass and the dog is allergic to grass and the dog gets better and doesn't itch as much every time you don't step on grass, that could give you a very useful hint as to what things to avoid anytime you go out for a walk. And the third one is breed specific. Unfortunately, there's loads and loads of breeds and loads of breeders who aren't very reputable and who aren't the best. By cutting corners and by misbreeding a lot of these dogs, some dogs are inherently more prone to developing allergies. And to be fair, it doesn't really have to be some dog that has been bred incorrectly. It could be that the breed is inherently prone to developing certain allergies or certain health issues, such as French bulldogs, for example, or such as XL bullies. If your dog has been tailored in any particular way to look a specific way, you will find that that dog will sometimes develop certain symptoms and certain health issues, and those can only be mitigated. So what we have learned so far is that there are three main sources of allergies: food, environmental, and breed specific. If your dog has a food allergy, we will be able to help and we will be able to solve the problems forever. This means that with nutrition, with the power of nutrition, we will be able to make your dog stop itching completely. If the problem is environmental or breed specific, we can only manage the problem because the problem is within. So now, what are the most common allergy symptoms? Well, the first one is very obvious. Anytime we talk about allergies and anytime we talk about dermatitis, itis means inflammation and is an immune deficiency, which means that your dog's immune system is compromised. Itis means inflammation. Something is inflaming your dog's skin. So itchy skin is definitely one of the most common allergy symptoms. We also have things like swelling of the face, like puffing of the face, swelling of the paws, the bellies, the ears and behind the ears, and any mild swelling and any controlled swelling in your dog's face or ears will be a common allergy symptom. Going back to the skin, if we see red patches and if we see inflamed skin, any sort of rashes you can see on the dog's dermis, on the dog's coat, on the dog's fur, is a very common allergy symptom. And then we have things like diarrhea, like vomiting, we have things like sneezing, we have things like recurring itchy ears, and these are all mild symptoms. Now, I don't want you to see your dog vomiting every 2 minutes and for you just to watch this video and not do anything about it. If you see your dog is in pain, if you see your dog is having extreme bouts of diarrhea, take your dog to see a vet immediately, please. These things need to be addressed immediately. So if your dog is in pain, if your dog is constantly vomiting or has diarrhea, please take your dog to the vet. We also have things like chronic ear infections or anything that's chronic, like itching, which is chronic. The worst thing you can do is take your dog to the vet, or the vet not to solve the problem and for them to keep fobbing you off. If your dog has a food allergy or your dog has any sort of allergy, you must have a plan in place in order for you to solve or mitigate the problem. You can't just keep having the same issues time and time again without having the issue resolved and for the vet just to keep giving you meds. That is not an acceptable course of action. And again, we have itchy and runny eyes. Those could also be some very common allergy symptoms. Any constant self-biting and itching of the skin. Those are very obvious signs of a dog in distress. Now, what to do is the right question. What I don't want you to do, or anyone else, is to put patches on the problem. I want you to identify, I want you to determine what's going wrong with the dog before you start giving the dog anything. So, going back to the start of the video, is it a food allergy? Is it an environmental allergy? Or is it a breed-specific allergy? Or is it something like fleas, for example? So, if it is food, what we are going to do is we are going to check everything on the back of the packet and everything we give the dog, and we are going to learn about ingredients and the quality of ingredients that get put into your dog on a daily basis. Now, if you think about it, a dog only has 3 main inputs: what the dog eats, what the dog drinks, and the levels of activity. If you take care of those 3 things, the dog will live a very happy life. Now, what causes inflammations in dogs? Well, anything which is a high glycemic carbohydrate, dogs don't have the ability to break them down as effectively as me or you. Why? Well, there's a few reasons why. If you look at your dog's mouth, they cannot chew food, they only wolf it down. So feeding them refined carbohydrates such as wheat, barley, corn, rice, it's not the most appropriate thing. Can they digest them? Yes. Can they digest high amounts without having allergies or without having symptoms? Can they eat vast amounts of these high glycemic and highly refined carbohydrates and starches without having any repercussions? Probably not. So if you see on the back of your food cereals, meat and animal derivatives, rice, wheat, barley, soy, things that should not be in pet food, even sugar, stop giving your dog that food immediately. And how about treats? Well, the treats will say the same. If they say meat and animal derivatives, if they say glycerol, if they say potato starch, for example, do not give them to the dog. Avoid anything that causes inflammation in your dog's food. Now, how can we mitigate and how can we address whether a dog is allergic to something or isn't allergic to something? We are going to choose a single protein food, and that only means giving the dog one protein. We can give the dog just chicken or just beef or just salmon, for example. So pick a bag of food that has one single protein, and having one single protein, you will be able to determine whether the dog has an allergy to that protein or the dog is good on that protein, and then you can incorporate all the proteins into the dog's diet. How about treats? Any treats should mimic the single protein food you have chosen. So if you have chosen a food which contains salmon and salmon only, you will only give your dog salmon treats. You won't give the dog this, that, and the other. You will only give the dog salmon. Now, another thing is that it's imperative that you see whether these allergies are mild or severe, or are recurring, or are they just acute. If we are dealing with something which is recurring, we want to nail what's going wrong with the dog as soon as humanly possible. So first, I want you to check all the ingredients you give your dog. Check all the ingredients of any treats you are giving your dog. If you see things that are inflammatory, that will be a very good hint of something that's causing the dog to itch. Now, what to make of prescription diets? Well, let me tell you something about prescription diets. The most common practice of a vet, if you go to see them with regards to allergies, is for them to recommend something which is either hypoallergenic, analergenic, or something which is a prescription diet. I highly recommend and for you to stay away from these prescription foods. Before we go into anything else and we debate whether they are good or bad, we specialize in nutrition. We run a business. We could sell these prescription foods and we could side with a vet and we could tell you that these foods are incredible and we could profit from your pain. We don't sell these foods because they are horrible. Let me give you a few examples. If your vet has recommended a food for a dog with an allergy, you can see for yourself on the back of that food that they have rice, they include corn, wheat, maize, barley. They will contain something like animal fats. Now, animal fats, if we have a dog with an allergy and we don't know what's triggering the allergy, feeding the dog something as generic as animal fats, will we know what fat are we giving the dog? My suggestion is we will not know. If we saw chicken fat, we would know that that's chicken fat. But if we see animal fat, we will not know what the dog's getting. So before you buy the bag of prescription food, I want you to read the ingredients, and I would bet you dollars to donuts that that bag of food is horrible and it's one of the causes, if not the main cause, of why your dog itches. So anytime you buy something for your dog, especially if you have a dog with an allergy, which is something very painful and something that will have cost you quite a bit of money, is for you to read the ingredients. No rice, no wheat, no barley, no animal fat, no sugar, no corn starch, and none of these nonsensical ingredients. You want full, wholesome ingredients. You want a dog that's healthy and a dog that's gonna stop itching. You want a dog that's free from any allergies. And if the food is the main source of the allergies, you need to address that first. So please read the ingredients for everything you give the dog. If you don't really know what you are doing or what you are looking out for, we have put together a free seminar you can watch here, or you can visit our website. We only sell good foods. We could sell all sorts of things and we could tell you they are wonderful, but we will only sell a very small selection of food. There's so much information we put out for you to give the best to your dog. So if you have a dog with allergies, check the food, the environment, or the breed. And by getting to the root cause of the allergy and all the itchiness or the problem you are having, you will be able to know whether what you're doing is helping or hindering. We cannot allow dogs to be on meds forever for months and months or years and years on end, like we see all the time, and for that dog not to get better. Dogs will live a life of quiet desperation, and so will you. So please tackle the issue as soon as you can. If you got value from this video, please like and please subscribe. If me and my team can help, please contact us below.